If there's one name within Tensei Slime that sparks debate, it's Veldanava. For many fans, he is simply the god of the universe. For others, he is far from omnipotent. But what is the truth? What does the work actually show? And what is just exaggerated interpretation by the community? Today you will find out. Let's start with the basics. Within Tensura's lore, Veldanava is presented as the creator. He is responsible for the multiverse, the fundamental rules of existence, and even the systems that characters use to evolve. His influence is so great that even supreme entities, like the true dragons, exist because of him. In other words, he is indeed the closest being to a god in the narrative sense of the work. But this doesn't automatically mean omnipotence. To understand this, we need to separate two things: what is said in the story and what people assume. Officially, Veldanava created the universe because he was bored. He literally wanted to experience life in a more limited way, feel weaker emotions, and live in a world where challenges existed. This in itself is an important clue. If he could feel boredom, then he is a being with emotional limitations. And omnipotent beings, in the absolute sense, have no limitations of any kind. Another crucial point: Veldanava abandons part of his own power when he decides to create a physical body. This generates a gigantic domino effect, which weakens not only him, but the entire cosmic structure that depended on his energy. If he were literally omnipotent permanently and infinitely, he would have no way to lose power. Real omnipotence, by definition, does not diminish. But here comes the contradiction that makes so many people believe the opposite. Even after renouncing power, the mere echo of his existence creates absurdly strong beings, like Malim and the other true dragons. And even weakened, he still sustains part of the fundamental laws of the universe. This gives the impression of something unlimited, but that's not quite it. What we see is that Veldanava possesses absolute creation, a structural control, an unparalleled knowledge, and a level of influence that no other character comes close to. But all of this is still within a system he himself created. In other words, he is the strongest within Tensura, not necessarily outside of any possible existence. In other words, Veldanava is functionally omnipotent within the narrative itself, but not omnipotent in the absolute metaphysical sense, that concept of infinite power without boundaries, independent of universe, time, or logic. And this becomes even clearer when we see that he can be defeated by bad decisions. He can sacrifice himself. And his death has real consequences. A truly omnipotent being does not die, does not disappear, does not become trapped within the system he created. So what is the ultimate truth about him? Veldanava is the supreme being of Tensura, but he is not an omnipotent god in the absolute technical sense. He is the creator god of the work, but not an infinite being without limits. His power is so high that, for all practical purposes, it seems impossible to match. But it is still a power with boundaries defined by the author himself. And that is what makes the universe so rich. If Veldanava were literally omnipotent, there would be no room for Rimuru to ascend, for the laws of reality to change, or for the system to fail. Tensura works because the creator is not perfect, and this opens up space for evolution. In the end, the great truth is simple. He is the apex of the story, but not the apex of all possible realities. And that is precisely why Rimuru's journey is so interesting.